There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide who is really in control, their circumstances or their mindset. The mindset that crushes all excuses is not loud, not arrogant, not dramatic. It is quiet, disciplined, and relentless. It is the voice inside you that refuses to negotiate with weakness, that refuses to blame the weather, the economy, your past, your parents, your failures, or your fears. It understands one powerful truth. Excuses are comfort disguised as logic. When you say, "I don't have time," what you often mean is, it's not a priority. When you say, "I'm not ready," what you really feel is fear. When you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you are choosing temporary relief over permanent growth. The mindset that crushes all excuses recognizes these patterns and cuts through them with responsibility. It says, maybe it's hard, maybe it's unfair, maybe I'm behind, but it's still my move. That is power. Because the moment you take ownership, you take back control. This mindset doesn't wait for motivation, it creates discipline. It doesn't depend on perfect conditions. It adapts to imperfect ones. It doesn't compete with others, it competes with yesterday's version of itself. While others are explaining why they can't, this mindset is figuring out how it can. It wakes up early not because it feels amazing, but because goals demand effort. It works late not because it loves exhaustion, but because dreams require sacrifice. It fails, but instead of saying this isn't for me, it says, what can this teach me? That shift changes everything. Excuses focus on obstacles. This mindset focuses on options. Excuses protect your ego. This mindset builds your character. Excuses keep you comfortable. This mindset makes you capable. And capability is what builds confidence, not positive thinking alone, but repeated action in the face of resistance. Understand this clearly. Nobody who has ever built something meaningful did it without discomfort. The difference is they didn't romanticize their struggle, and they didn't publicize their pain. They weaponized it. They turned rejection into fuel, criticism into data, and setbacks into strategy. The mindset that crushes excuses does not deny emotion. It simply refuses to let emotion dictate action. You can feel tired and still train. You can feel afraid and still speak. You can feel uncertain and still start. That is maturity, that is growth, that is strength. And here is the most important truth. This mindset is not something you are born with. It is something you build, one decision at a time. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, ownership over blame, courage over comfort, you are strengthening it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you are building self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of unstoppable momentum. So stop waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect support, the perfect confidence. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can today, because in the end, success does not belong to the most talented or the most connected. It belongs to the one who refused to make excuses when it would have been easy to do so. Adopt the mindset that says, no matter what, I will find a way. And once you truly live by that standard, excuses will have no place left to survive in your life. The moment you truly begin to destroy excuses is the moment you stop asking life for permission to become better. Most people wait for confidence before they act, but the mindset that crushes all excuses understands that confidence is not the starting line, it is the result of action repeated over time. You don't become strong and then face challenges. You face challenges and become strong through them. Every morning presents a silent choice: remain the person shaped by habits of comfort or become the person shaped by decisions of growth. This mindset chooses growth even when no one is watching, even when results are slow. It understands that success is rarely a dramatic breakthrough. It is usually boring consistency executed daily, while others complain about lack of motivation. This mindset builds systems. It sets routines, creates structure, and removes distractions because it knows discipline reduces the need for willpower. Excuses thrive in chaos, but purpose thrives in order. When you plan your day, protect your time, and focus your energy, excuses begin to lose their power. This mindset also changes how you view failure. Instead of seeing failure as proof of limitation, you begin to see it as feedback. Every mistake becomes information. Every setback becomes adjustment. Every rejection becomes redirection. You stop taking losses personally and start using them strategically. The truth is, excuses often come from fear of judgment, fear of looking foolish, fear of being criticized, fear of not being good enough. But the mindset that crushes excuses realizes something liberating. People are too busy worrying about their own lives to analyze yours as deeply as you think. Once you stop performing for approval, you start performing for progress. And progress is addictive. Small wins stack into momentum. Momentum builds belief. And belief fuels bigger action. You also begin to understand that energy follows purpose. When your goal is clear, fatigue becomes manageable. When your why is strong, obstacles become temporary. The excuse-driven mind asks, "Why is this happening to me?" But the disciplined mind asks, "What is this preparing me for?" That single question transforms struggle into training. You start embracing hard tasks first, confronting problems directly instead of avoiding them, because avoidance strengthens excuses while action weakens them. Over time, you develop resilience, the ability to continue moving forward even when motivation disappears. And this is where most people fall behind. They rely on feelings, while you rely on standards. Feelings change daily. Standards remain constant. The mindset that crushes all excuses also accepts responsibility without self-hate. It does not blame others, but it also does not insult itself for mistakes. Instead, it learns, adjusts, and moves forward quickly. It understands that perfection is unnecessary. Progress is everything. Each day becomes a chance to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than your doubts suggest. And slowly, almost quietly, your identity begins to change. You no longer see yourself as someone trying, you become someone who executes. You no longer search for motivation, you create momentum. You no longer explain why things didn't happen, you make things happen. And when this shift fully takes root, excuses stop feeling comforting. They start feeling unacceptable. Because deep inside, you now know what you are capable of. And once a person realizes their potential, settling for less becomes the hardest thing of all. At the highest level, the mindset that crushes all excuses is built on identity, not intensity. Most people try to change their results without changing who they believe they are. They say, "I want to be successful," but deep down they still see themselves as inconsistent. They say, "I want to be disciplined," but they still identify as someone who quits when it gets hard. The truth is this: you will always act in alignment with the story you tell yourself about who you are. So the real shift happens when you stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am a disciplined person." That subtle difference changes your standards. And when your standards rise, excuses begin to feel like a betrayal of your identity. A disciplined person doesn't skip because they're tired. They rest strategically and return stronger. A committed person doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable. They lean in and adapt. When you adopt this identity-driven mindset, your behavior becomes consistent because it is no longer based on emotion, it is based on who you believe yourself to be. This mindset also understands delayed gratification. It knows that comfort now often creates regret later, and effort now creates freedom later. While others chase short-term pleasure, scrolling, procrastinating, avoiding difficult conversations, you choose long-term growth. You choose to train when it hurts, study when it's boring, build when it's slow, and save when it's tempting to spend. Why? Because you are no longer addicted to easy dopamine, you are committed to meaningful progress. And this commitment builds mental toughness, not the loud, aggressive kind, but the calm, controlled resilience that says, "I can handle this." Every time you push through resistance, you expand your capacity. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine. And slowly, the obstacles that stop other people don't even slow you down. Another powerful element of this mindset is radical ownership. No more blaming the past, no more pointing fingers, no more waiting for rescue. You accept that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can always control your response. And in that response lies your power. You stop saying "it's not my fault" and start asking, "What can I do about it?" That question transforms victims into leaders. Because leaders don't waste time complaining about conditions, they improve them. Even in unfair situations, you search for leverage. Even in difficult seasons, you look for growth. This does not mean you ignore pain. It means you refuse to let pain define your direction. And perhaps the most powerful shift of all is this: you stop negotiating with yourself. When it's time to work, you work. When it's time to train, you train. When it's time to rest, you rest. With intention, not guilt. You remove the internal debate that drains energy. Excuses are born in negotiation. Maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe when I feel better. But the decisive mind says, now. And action follows immediately. That speed of execution separates dreamers from achievers. The world is full of talented people who hesitate. It is full of intelligent people who overthink. It is full of capable people who wait. But the person with the mindset that crushes excuses moves imperfectly, imperfect timing, imperfect conditions, but consistently forward. In the end, this mindset is not about being superhuman. It is about being accountable. It is about honoring your potential enough to demand more from yourself. It is about understanding that your future is built by what you tolerate today. If you tolerate excuses, you build limitation. If you tolerate discipline, you build strength. So choose your standards carefully, choose your identity intentionally, and choose action relentlessly. Because when you truly commit to becoming the kind of person who finds a way instead of an excuse, there is no obstacle powerful enough to permanently stop you. There is a level beyond discipline, beyond motivation, beyond even confidence, and that level is self-respect. The mindset that crushes all excuses is built on a deep respect for your own potential. When you truly respect yourself, you stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop choosing temporary comfort over long-term greatness. You stop saying, I'll do it tomorrow, when you know that tomorrow is just fear wearing a polite disguise. Self-respect demands action. It demands that you show up even when no one is clapping, even when progress is invisible, even when the only person who knows whether you worked or not is you. Because at the end of the day, the real competition is not with the world, it's with your lower self. The version of you that wants to sleep in, the version that wants to quit early, the version that wants to explain instead of execute. Every single day, those two versions of you are fighting, and the one that wins is the one you feed with action. This mindset understands that pressure is a privilege. The weight you feel is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you are carrying something meaningful. Responsibilities, goals, expectations, they are not burdens when you view them correctly. They are opportunities to grow stronger. Instead of asking, why is this so hard, you begin asking, who do I need to become to handle this? That question shifts your focus from the obstacle to your evolution. You stop shrinking your goals to match your comfort, and you start expanding your capacity to match your vision. Growth becomes intentional. You train your body. You sharpen your skills. You guard your time. You protect your focus because you understand something powerful. Distractions are the modern excuse, and focus is the modern superpower. The mindset that crushes excuses also masters emotional control, not by suppressing feelings, but by leading them. You may feel doubt, but you act anyway. You may feel fear, but you move anyway. You may feel tired, but you continue strategically. You are no longer controlled by moods. You are guided by mission. And when your mission is clear, excuses become small, very small, because purpose makes pain tolerable and discipline sustainable. The road will never be smooth. There will be setbacks. There will be criticism. There will be days when nothing seems to work. But instead of spiraling, you stabilize. Instead of complaining, you recalibrate. That calm resilience is what separates temporary motivation from permanent transformation. So here is the truth. You don't need more time. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need a decision, a real one, a line in the sand decision that says, from this point forward, excuses are no longer an option. Once that decision is made, your standards rise, your habits tighten, your circle sharpens, your focus deepens, and your results begin to reflect the new identity you've chosen. If this message is pushing you, challenging you, waking something up inside you, then don't just listen and move on. Make a commitment. Apply it. And if you want more content that strengthens your mindset, builds discipline, and pushes you towards your highest level, make sure you subscribe to this channel and stay connected. Because growth is not a one-time spark. It's a daily fire. And together, we're building the mindset that refuses to settle, refuses to complain, and refuses to make excuses. If you're serious about taking action in your life, stop waiting and start now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because here on this channel, we bring you daily motivation, life-changing insights, and the push you need to stop procrastinating and start achieving. Don't just watch, take action, and let's rise together.